It's mulch madness back here. We have mulched up pretty much the whole backyard, but there's an empty bed, and that is a sin at the Epic Gardening Homestead. So today we're gonna plant out this bed, a bed in the front yard, and put in 4 trees that are long overdue. We're here on the seedling table. It almost feels like it never, ever runs out, but that's because we're always sowing. Now what we're doing here is we're gonna take some okra. This is a little stretched out. This is the Annie Oakley variety. And we have some chairman squash, and we're gonna take it over here and do 1, 2, 3 okra on either of these sides, and then fill the middle with squash. Those of you who've been watching for a while, you know this used to be the corn, and before that was the potatoes. So in between the potatoes and the corn, we did amend, but between the corn and right now, we did not. We actually didn't even turn in this garden straw, so it's just sitting on top. Was that a mistake? Probably not. I think it's fine. I think all we really need to do is just make sure that we amend in the planting hole this time around, because the okra, which are gonna go along this line here, decently heavy feeder, and so is a squash. And so we just got a Spoma's Garden Tone, and we have a little bit of the tomato and vegetable mycos, which is just a mycorrhizal inoculant. I'm gonna go with like a triangular spacing here for the chairman. So I'm gonna go like 1, 2, 3, banking on the fact that they're just gonna cover this entire thing. The okras are gonna skyrocket up, and we should be good to go. So let's get to planting. Well, that's it there, nothing fancy, just gonna water it in. Soil's already wet, just firming up what we transplanted in. This is the 3rd crop in this one plot this season, which means we're gonna get 4 out of this one little spot here. So on to the next task, which is probably gonna be planting some trees. The first up on the planting list today, I think we're gonna try to tackle 4 trees, is this banana. We bought it on a whim, as I do with all my trees, and this is the spot I think it's gonna go. Let me show you why. So here's our fence right here. That fence can open up to about there. And then this banana is gonna be about 4 foot offset from the wall with a spread of about 8 feet potentially. So it can get 4 feet that way, it'll get 4 feet that way, and it'll probably top out somewhere around this point. And the reason why it's right here is because we're gonna try to prevent it from getting a lot of afternoon, super hot, super bright sun. It's a full sun plant, but the super hot, dry heat is probably not what it likes. And this is facing the west. And so as the sun starts to set, it'll start ducking a little bit of that afternoon sun. That's the logic. Seems like it makes sense. Only thing left to do is plant it. This ground was a little bit harder than we thought, so we're gonna let it drain in to get the ground more workable. Probably have to loosen that up a little bit. And now it really comes to, how are we gonna place these avocados? For me, this is probably the hardest part of designing a space that's as big as this one, is you really have to see the future. And so I'm playing around with a couple options. I thought I wanted passion fruit here, so we have that one. I was gonna build a little trellis and have it kind of snake around and cover this. Now I'm thinking passion fruit's so versatile, why don't I just put the avocados there, because they'll still cover up the cistern, and there's really not a lot of other spaces for them. So I just added a ladder to kind of visualize. That's a 10-foot ladder. It could get up to about 15 if I wanted it to. I could also prune it. Another reason why it's nice to have it over in this area is because that's an avocado tree on my neighbor's side. I don't know the variety, but at least there would be some kind of pollination benefit. We just laid down an 8-foot conduit there.
This is 10-foot.
10-foot spacing. Yeah, so 10-foot spacing is kind of tight, but we are trying to keep things backyard orchard culture style. So to me, I can't think of a better spot, because if we put it in the front yard, it's gonna be in front of, sun-wise, all these smaller citrus and stone fruit. So to me, I think this makes the most sense. And just as soon as we thought we had it, we have already changed our mind. And here's why, here's what we noticed. If we take a look at the neighbor's avocado, it's in our climate, it's right next door, and we can see what's happening. 1 tree, 2 trees, 3 trees. The spacing on these is very tight, about 6 feet or so, but this has been crazy producers, because anything that comes over the fence, I've been allowed to snack on, and they've been very delicious. So here's what we're gonna do instead. I'm gonna take the Haas, I'm gonna take the Fuerte, I'm gonna go whoop, plant them about 3 feet apart from one another, maybe 2 feet apart, treat them basically as one plant. And basically treat them as one plant. It's an A and a B type, so we're gonna have not only good pollination, but we'll have reliable fruiting throughout the whole season. And I don't need that many avocados, so what I'll do is I'll groom them to about 10 feet tall, maybe a 10-foot total spread, as sort of one hybrid tree. I think that's more space efficient. It gives me more reliable production, but less production, which is fine for a backyard grower. And that gives us more space in this area to devote to other fruiting crops. Here's the final idea. So we used some conduit to lay this out roughly, but we're 6 foot off of the cistern. We're 25, 24 inches apart right here, so 2 feet apart. You'll notice the Haas, we angled the leaves outwards, and on the Forte we also did the same thing, because basically the middle of this canopy is effectively one trunk. That's the idea here. And so what we're gonna do is just pretend like we're growing one avocado tree right here. So now we just have to get it in. Back from a little lunch break. It got cloudy when we were eating lunch and then it got sunny again. So that's just what Mother Nature's doing. But we're back here with the banana. So as you can see, it's still pretty moist in there. We've filled it up 3 times. So the drainage is actually technically good. Usually when you have bad drainage, you'll fill it up twice and then the second one won't drain for like 2 days. That's how you know you have really bad drainage. Nevertheless, our little banana friend over here doesn't like that. So if you remember from the citrus video, we mounded that citrus because of more or less the same issue. Doesn't want to be buried in super heavy waterlogged clay soil. So what we're gonna do here is mound this up using some dirt from the cistern dig out, which is right over there. So we'll take this, we'll dig this out slightly more, mound it up, and we'll have a nice spot for planting. As you can see, I think it looks pretty dang good. I found a unused Birdie's Tree Surround in my shed, and I figured what better way to use it than a plant that wants to be a little bit higher due to the heavy clay soil. So in the end, it looks fantastic. We did some kind of weird things, putting some horticultural charcoal in there to lighten the soil up. I used some palm tone, which is a good tropical fertilizer, just to have some slow release in there. I don't think it's really that much of a big deal what type of fertilizer you would use to start it off, but it looks pretty good, and we're on to the avocados. It's avocado time, baby. The Haas, the Fuerte, going in that 2-in-1 hole style. So really just gonna dig a somewhat large hole, basically to the exterior edges of each of these pots, 2 feet gap between. So it'll probably be like a 3.5 foot diameter hole. Gotta let that water get in there. So interesting how different parts of this yard hydrate way differently. The banana took forever to hydrate, whereas, you know, one hole and a couple fillings of water in here, whew, just went down straight into the ground, which is really a relief when we're trying to dig in this hot weather. So here we go. Here's our final placement for the avocado. Looks tight, guys. I know it does, but I promise, you prune this out, you let them grow as one tree effectively, you're gonna have a beautifully productive avocado. The passion fruit will eventually go behind there, but now we gotta go out and take care of this papaya. So we're out here in the front. This is the citrus hedge area that many of you know. There's one spot really left here, and that's right next to the fence, because what we have to remember is that shower gray water line actually does come down right here. So it roughly runs straight down this line, just like this, roughly to there. So if we can put a papaya right here in line with these pomegranates, we're gonna have this nice 10, 15 foot tall tree coming up here that is out of the way, and those roots aren't even disruptive. Well, that was just about the easiest tree I've ever planted in my life. Went straight in the ground. Papayas want really well draining soil, hot temperatures. They want to be protected from a little bit of wind. This is our best spot that I think at least would make the most sense. So we'll see what we get. The temps have died down a bit. I can come back out and enjoy myself a little bit more. But the last step we need to do on the avocados is to whitewash them. Avocados especially when you plant them in June and July, like I've done here, a little bit aggressive, they tend to sunburn. You can see the trunk is relatively soft. It's relatively green and sort of young looking, especially when the plant itself is young. And so if I come through, you guys have seen me use this before. This is the IV Organics whitewash. With avocado especially, you really want to coat as many exposed pieces of both the main stem and even this chunk right here, this right here, this right here, to make sure that sun is not just blasting it and sunburning it and sort of stripping this trunk. So I'm going to do that right now. Out here in the front yard, I just put in this big old Titan tomato cage, which is going to be growing a center cut squash, and then 2 red curry squashes here. But if you're still watching, you get a little treat for watching to the end of the video, because I'm going to talk about what we've done to really rejuvenate this soil that we got here in these raised beds. So I had a big problem. I had a calcium deficiency, there was too much phosphorus, all sorts of weird things going on with the soil, which I found out with a soil test. So you kind of have to do that. But here is what we concocted so that you can see all this gorgeous, lush growth behind me. This was the last bed that didn't have this concoction, which I just did. So I'm gonna show it to you. The first thing we use is Espoma Organics Biotone. This is probably the biggest one by volume, maybe 3 or 4 cups per bed of these tall 6-in-1 Birdies beds here. So that's a good all-purpose, all-around starter sort of thing. Then I always like to put a little kelp meal in. So it's a 102, not very, very strong, however, full of trace nutrients, trace minerals, which sure seem to be helping. Now, remember, this is just what we do, what I do to fix this particular problem. If you have a nitrogen deficiency, you would have to do something else, right? But this is what's working for us. Okay, the next thing is this product called Earth Dust. It's a 3-1-2. It's from my friend Dan at the Green Sunshine Company. Basically, it's azomite, which is a rock dust product with more stuff in it. So it's kind of like azomite on steroids. The next thing we've added, this is garden gypsum. So this would help loosen soil slightly, especially if it is deficient in calcium, which ours was. So that's the perfect little solution there. Now, the garden tone kind of can substitute out for the biotone, but the last thing that we did was adding in kind of a random one here, horticultural charcoal. We just got a lot of it from Espoma. We wanted to test it out, and the idea here is it's gonna help loosen the soil. There's more porosity in the charcoal. So it's sort of like a biochar-esque type of logic there. Mix all that in, make sure you bring your beds up to size. You don't want your, whatever bed you're using, a birdie's bed, a raised bed, a container, you wanna bring your soil level up so you're working with a lot. Shore it up with some kind of compost. If it's a bagged compost, if it's a made your own compost, hopefully I'll be making a lot more pretty soon here at the homestead once I actually build out the compost bin. But that has absolutely blown up the growth here, which I will show you right now. All of these beds were kind of like this one, where everything was growing somewhat poorly, somewhat deficient. And as you can see, this chard popping, the zinnias are all looking amazing. I mean, the loofah, come on guys. Best year of loofah yet by a country mile. Oh, looks so good. We have peanuts right here, lush. I mean, look at the vigor in this flower bed. Look at all the cosmos going. Look at these zinnia. Is that not a next level zinnia? Look at that one, this one. This here is Queen Lime zinnia, easily becoming my favorite. Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. Look at the pumpkins though. The pumpkins are going insane. And this bed was struggling to grow sunflowers in the past. If you remember, they did okay, they didn't do amazing. Now this is just picture perfect, unblemished. And so that really, really works. We swapped out the cabbage with some garbanzos. Now look, here's something you can really notice. This is sort of training your gardener's eye. What's going on? Lower on the leaves, it's a little bit yellow. Not ideal, right? But that's because I bought them from a nursery and they were a little yellow when I bought them. But look at the new growth. Nice and green. That means that what's happening here is fine. It's going to come back, it's going to bounce back, it'll be perfectly fine. So as the sun sets here on another day at the homestead, I realized that I'm almost at my 11-month anniversary of living here, and I have actually done quite a bit. I mean, none of this was here when I got here, that's for sure. I just walked by the air conditioner that's blasting air into my home right now. So things are looking really good here. I'm gonna do a full year update and another Ask Me Anything style video pretty soon. But if you guys want to know anything, please drop it in the comments. I'm gonna be doing maybe a third channel, call me crazy, maybe a third channel about just business strategy, life stuff. It's just gonna be my name, Kevin Espiritu, so go check that out. But besides that, I'm sitting in these Adirondack chairs and enjoying the sunset, my friends. Good luck in the garden and keep on growing.